Hey everyone, I'll be covering all of the Nintendo Switch's game announcements for the 4th week of October, so let's get started. Our first game this week is the action RPG Vampyr, getting announced for Switch during Focus Home Interactive's latest financial report. As you try to find a cure to save the city, you must decide whether to embrace the monster within and give in to your desires. Capcom dropped a bombshell on Twitter confirming that 3 Resident Evil games are coming to the Switch. The first is the remaster for Resident Evil, which released back in 2015. Followed by Resident Evil 0, which originally released on GameCube but also got its own remaster back in 2016. And finally, the most expected port of them all, Resident Evil 4, which got its very own remaster on PS4 back in 2016. All of these ports are expected to release sometime next year. C2 Game Studios announced that Project Moonlight is currently in development for the Switch. Featuring full open world exploration and real-time combat, this project is aiming for a 2020 release. Announced in the latest issue of Famitsu, Ushiro is the latest project from Level 5. This turn-based horror RPG was originally planned for PSP back in 2008, but it was scrapped. The developers mentioned that it will have an interesting, unexpected approach to online functionality. Modus Games confirmed that Trine 4, The Nightmare Prince, is heading to Switch. The project is early on in development, but the developers said that their love for the franchise is rekindled and they'll work very hard to make sure this is the best entry in the series. In Hard West Complete Edition, players can take on 8 unique story-based scenarios and over 40 turn-based combat missions, featuring multiple endings and a deep narrative storyline. Gun Media originally teased Layers of Legacy 2 as Project Malice. Now we know they're both one and the same. The sequel of the psychological horror game is set to release sometime next year. Gust announced that Atelier Lulua, the Scion of Arland, is headed to Switch next year, where you'll be playing as the daughter of Rorona, a prominent character from the Arland trilogy. This will be the 4th game in the series, and the developers are promising a return to form and a fresh take to this popular JRPG franchise. The tactical RPG Mercenary Wings, The False Phoenix, is set to release in the West in late November. It released in Japan a few months ago, and sales were strong enough to merit a proper localization. Cellar Door Games announced 2 games for the Switch. Rogue Legacy is a beloved genealogical roguelite where each time you die, your child will succeed you, each with their own unique quirks inherent to them. They followed that announcement up with Full Metal Furies, which is a cooperative action RPG that supports up to 4 players offline and online multiplayer. Both games are set to release on November 6th. P-Cubed announced that the visual novel Our World Descended is heading to the Switch. A group of eccentric game developers are trapped between their reality and the game world, where simple glitches can have devastating consequences. According to a Walmart listing, Atari Flashback Classics is set to release on Switch November 8th, including over 150 games all in one cartridge. Anger Force Reloaded is a vertical shooter done in 90s arcade style, featuring local co-op where you can finish the story with a friend, with 7 stages and over 10 bosses to defeat. 5PB finally announced that Robotics Note Elite is releasing in Japan November 22nd. This visual novel previously released on the Vita. Releasing early next year, Agent A, A Puzzle in Disguise, is a first-person point-and-click adventure game where secret agents must solve puzzles, quick riddles, and complete the story for their mission. In Townsmen, you can choose up to 26 different scenarios and varying challenges. These sandbox maps have you building thrilling towns from scratch with tons of customization options, and is set to release on November 9th. A Kickstarter project for Bushiden is underway, featuring 7 gorgeous pixel art levels to explore and unique traversal options with combat-heavy boss fights. Appearing on the eShop, Hidden Folks is a hand-drawn interactive miniature landscape game where you can click through the world to find your target. Featuring 3 scenarios to start from and different stories to tell, Brave Dungeon Seigi no Imi features pixel art exploration and battles, and once you've completed all 3 scenarios, the real story begins. Mars Chaos Menace is a bullet hell shoot 'em up with 3D graphics and massive enemies to conquer, releasing in the second half of November. Releasing October 31st, Knock Knock is a horror survival game where you attempt to live through the night while maintaining your sanity. Yonder Entertainment is bringing Circle of Sumo to the Switch. This is a local multiplayer game featuring dozens of arenas where you fight for supremacy. The space shooter Nombala teaches you math as you play. It's aimed for children ages 6 to 12 and is releasing October 31st. The character collecting puzzle Metroidvania game about potato cats, A Partero Tale, is releasing in 2019. The cat simulation RPG Cat Tales is releasing November 29th, where you can hunt, battle, date, and personalize your den. The fantasy romance visual novel Kitty Love, Wait to Look for Love is a tale of a human by day and a cat by night, releasing November 1st. Fuse 4 is a program that lets anyone program games in 2D and 3D, and it will include thousands of assets with music to get you started. The sequel D-Make Horizon Shift 81 is heading to the Switch, featuring full tape mode options. And that's all the game announcements we'll be covering this week. A couple of interesting new games to add to the 2019 Switch library, which is already starting to look really impressive. So with all that said, as per always, thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate the support. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. See ya!